Unser deutsches Volk siegt heil!
Adolf Hitler, the most feared name in history, rose to power in Germany in 1934. He utilized the economic depression and the defeat from the First World War to fuel the power for the Nazi Party. Hitler used his influence to cause the death of millions of innocent people, especially of the Jewish people. His reign threatened the sanctity of freedom and the balance of power in Europe. Franklin Delano Roosevelt came into presidency shortly after Hitler became Führer. As the leader of one of the world's superpowers, FDR was tasked with defending democracy against the impending threat of dictators.
That I have seen war and that I hate war.
Shortly after France and Great Britain declared war on Germany, FDR made this statement during one of his fireside chats in order to maintain neutrality in the new war. World War II boiled down to a fight between Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, and Great Britain, led by Winston Churchill. Hitler made a formidable ally with the fascist Italian leader Mussolini, which put Great Britain at a great disadvantage. Many Americans looked towards FDR to join the war against the Axis. He was the first president to suffer from a significant physical disability which confined him to a wheelchair, but despite this, many Americans regarded him as a strong president. He refused to join the war, and rather tried to cultivate good relations through appeasement and isolation. FDR knew the United States was not in an economic condition that would allow them to enter another world war. Though the US was successful in the close of the First World War, the nation was not politically or financially able to send in troops to battle. In addition to the fact that they had just exited a war, the Great Depression had made its attack, starting with America, leaving the American economy desolate and incapable of immediately sending in new troops. For the protection of the nation, FDR knew the United States needed to stay out of conflict, at least temporarily. A few years later, FDR took a step forward to defend democracy by giving his quarantine speech.
America hates war. America hopes for peace. Therefore, America actively engages in the search for peace.
The speech wasn't a declaration of war, but rather a step towards war. In a later speech during the invasion of Poland, FDR said,
"This nation will remain a neutral nation, but I cannot ask that every American remain neutral in thought as well."
Hitler knew that this meant Churchill and Roosevelt had ties, and he knew that Churchill's success and survival in the war relied on Roosevelt. Hitler often said that the Americans should stay out of the European battle and continue to threaten the democratic nations of the Allies. Eventually, France crumbled to the power of Nazi Germany, and in response, Roosevelt delivered a speech declaring,
"We are convinced that military and naval victory for the gods of force and hate would endanger the institutions of democracy in the Western world, and that equally, therefore, the whole of our sympathies lie with those nations that are giving their lifeblood in combat against those forces."
I think he may have been pro-war, but he had to bring the nation along with him. So I think that appeasement was just trying to get in position to enter the war. I don't think he really wanted to appease anybody.
He could not join the war even with the pleas of the dying French government because of the upcoming election and the lack of support from Congress. Hitler was using the political division caused by the election to keep the United States out of the war. In July of 1940, Roosevelt confided into the pleas of the British and sent 50 American destroyers to Britain. This caused Hitler to decide to cancel the invasion of Britain, and the war shifted towards Churchill and Roosevelt versus Hitler. The attack on Pearl Harbor was the turning point that brought not just Roosevelt, but the entirety of the American people into the war. Hitler now had to accept that this would not be a war he could win. FDR was ultimately successful in his attempts to eliminate the foreign threat, assisted by his methods of appeasement to keep America safe. In addition to winning the war, FDR continues to serve as an example for generations of presidents and Americans and how we will deal with powerful threats to freedom. Dictators will plague our nations and demolish the values we hold as true. It is up to our leader to judge when it is our time to act. When is the time to act?